Even though this is a beautiful town and a beautiful emergency department, we're very sensitive to the potential violence that can occur at a moment's notice.
It's well known that the bulk of violent crime in the state of Florida, the bulk of violent crime in Collier County is domestic violence related crime.
911, 911.
In Collier County, 40% of the violent crime is domestic violence crime. 28% of the women who go to the emergency room in Collier County are there because of domestic violence.
His biggest thing was the head, you know, whether it be banging it against a wall or doing a lot of slapping or punching to the head.
I've seen women punched in the face, bloodied, lacerations, belt buckle marks, hairs pulled, arms twisted, broken bones, a lot of different injuries.
He would always tell me, "You're not in a domestic violence situation because I have not put you in intensive care. I don't beat you like these men beat their women."
And it helps because sometimes it can be at an odd hour that you're overwhelmed with something, or you get a feeling that you need to talk about.
For at least 6,000 women in Collier County every year, the most dangerous place for them is in their own home.
Very, very extremely verbal, a lot of face-to-face, I mean, in my face, yelling, very, very close contact. Something that you just stand there and go, God, just don't hit me. You know, he's that close to going over the edge.
You may think that it's more in the low socioeconomic groups, but people of affluence also get abused. And that's what's probably not so well known out there.
When I moved down, I had my own car and I had 2 homes up north, and it has nothing to do with your stature in life whatsoever. It can happen to anybody.
People would be absolutely shocked if they knew some of the perpetrators of domestic violence right here in Collier County.
I would say it's incredibly ironic that we have the very affluent and the very poor with the exact same problem.
I mean, I got pushed back against, I had this big little screen, and I got pushed back against the door and I screamed for my brother-in-law. And then my sister jumped on his back, my ex-husband's back.
At one particular time, he took glass and started cutting my wrists. And he said he was going to try to make it look like I was going to commit suicide.
My daughter had severe nightmares as a result of what she witnessed and saw her father do to her mother.
Children are involved in many domestic violence incidents. They are like the silent victim in all of this. They're the ones that are most traumatized.
She had witnessed the entire incident, and she said, Daddy hit Mommy, Daddy made Mommy cry.
Emotionally, it's dangerous for them, and also they get in the way. And there's a big, powerful abuser who's throwing punches and throwing furniture and throwing things around and breaking things. A little child can get in the way and get seriously hurt in that situation.
He would grab my daughters by the hair and he would throw them across the room because they hadn't cleaned it. He would kick them, slap them, call them names. He would berate them and their friends, tell them that they were worthless.
Go to a safe place, go to a safe place.
So I know she's affected because she still asks me today. And she still knows what happened 3 years later.
Children that witness domestic violence, children that are the victims of domestic violence, tend to be perpetrators of domestic violence when they get older.
I said, look what you're showing our daughters. You're showing them that it's okay to be hit around by a man? Is that what you want your son-in-law to do to your daughter? And look how you're showing our sons, that it's okay to beat around their wife? And this is what a man is supposed to be?
I have actually seen cases go the full cycle. When I was a juvenile prosecutor, I would see a juvenile who was the son of a batterer and then later as the juvenile became an adult, see him himself in court for battering.
Children very often return to the abusive environment where there is domestic violence occurring. And so one of the things that I focus on when I work with children is safety planning. Every child that comes through the door needs to know how to keep themselves safe, how not to get into the middle of fights, how to call 911, who to talk to, who to go to.
911, 911, it's where you call, it's where you call. If you have a problem, if you need some help, 911, 911.
I really couldn't understand why a woman wouldn't just walk out of the house and leave if her husband or somebody was beating them up.
A part of me will always love him. He is the father of my children. We spent 21 years together.
Well, you want to know why I stayed? Because I married for better, for worse. I was brought up that way.
I stayed 3.5 years because, well, it's really hard to say. I just felt like I didn't know how to get out of there.
But I put up with everything else until then. I said, if he ever hits me and leaves a mark on me, I'm done. It should have been, if he ever treats me bad, I'm done.
We have a lot of victims of domestic violence. Women who can't go anywhere else. Children who have nowhere else to go.
They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go.
Science tells us that of those who leave, that of those who are most seriously abused and those that are killed, 70% of those have already left their abuser. So it's when a victim leaves their abusive situation that she is in most danger.
Oftentimes a person will come in abused and the person who did the abuse is sitting in the waiting room. I'm concerned for her, for the staff, for myself, for everyone involved.
There have been incidences where perpetrators have broken into other shelters and harmed the staff.
I was being hunted like an animal. He had to find me. So I told my mom, I said, I'm going to go in the shelter. I think it's the safest place.
I personally will pick up the phone, call the domestic shelter, speak with a counselor, and get her involved immediately.
Shelter crisis line. Con Norin Martinez, por favor.
Immokalee is a multicultural, multilingual town. The shelter has an outreach office in Immokalee because there is a need for information, education, and safety for victims of domestic violence.
To at least provide a safe place for them until we can resolve the other issues that are out there.
What's going on with you?
Well, I'll be having my baby tomorrow, and I'm not scared, and my kids, it's my greatest accomplishment since I've been here. The minute I hit the front entrance, I felt a relief over my body. And when they shut the door behind me and it slammed lock, I felt so safe for me and my kids.
Not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, we had to turn 10 women away. It's 10 women, and each one of them had a couple kids. But it breaks our hearts every time we have to say, I'm sorry. There's no room. There's no room.
There was one girl that came in a towel. Her husband had burned everything that she owned.
The counseling that my children and I receive from here have not only gave me back my life, but I have grown and the healing has begun.
Yes, it's very priceless. I can't begin to say. And I guess you never understand it until you've lived it.
I think I owe the shelter peace of mind. They gave me a wonderful peace of mind.
I feel good. I feel like I deserve that I'm a much better person. And I feel like I'm #1. I'm a star. I do.
It takes a long time to move from the victim to being a survivor, to get a car and a job and a house and someplace to live. It takes a long time to do all that. And 6 weeks isn't enough time. In our new facility that we're planning, there will be 60 beds.
The impact of the new facility, I can finally smile because I can hardly put it into words, but the wings that we've talked about, the ability to help these women be empowered enough to fly away on their own is going to be phenomenal.
The new shelter will be called the Beau Venturi Home, after a wonderful woman who was a member of our board of directors who has since passed away, and the beloved wife of Mr. Ken Venturi.
And when I drive up to it and I see the name, the Beau Venturi Home, and I see and know what is going on in there, and knowing that her name will always be remembered, I'm sure that when I drive up there, I won't have a dry eye.
He's a hero to me for all that he has done to help the shelter for abused women, for all that he's done to help us raise the money that we needed to have this new facility that we so desperately need.
They came up with the symbol, the butterfly, and it's a perfect symbol for Beau. That's how gentle she really was and is. And every time I see a butterfly, I never fail to think about her. And I think about the home, too. It's such a beautiful symbol. Tranquility, the gentleness of the butterfly. And that was my Beau. And I think that is the shelter for abused women and children.